Most Google Ads checklists give you 5 tips you've heard 100 times, but to start your year right, we'll do things differently. And I'll cover 26 specific examples that actually move the needle. Implement 5 of these and you'll be 20 to 50% better at Google Ads by the end of the year. The range is huge. Some of the tips that I'm talking about is super fundamental, such as rethinking how you structure campaigns. Others are much bigger and using the latest data Google released, like performance metrics on individual responsive search ad assets, etc. But you're not going to find a long list of unproven betas or the same thing like ad broad match or stuff like that. These are only the proven tactics based on what I know works in Savvy and the 50 accounts I audited externally over the last 12 months. The mistakes I see most often are the ones that made this list. Let's start with shopping and performance max. So number 1, you have no strategy behind your campaign structure. Too many people split up their campaigns based on LinkedIn posts or whatever they think is great, and you most likely overcomplicate it. The result is the products are scattered randomly throughout your account, and smart bidding has a tough time bidding optimally. Whenever you're in doubt, try to keep it simple. One campaign, just all products, one campaign will do better than the wrong campaign structure. The result of missing the strategy behind campaign structure is almost always over-segmentation of your campaigns, which again goes back to you splitting the campaigns unnecessarily. To give you an example, last year I got a look behind one of the biggest e-commerce advertisers in the world. When I say biggest, I mean like top 20. Their biggest gain in performance from last year came from combining all campaigns into one. We're talking millions of products. Now think of whether or not you're overcomplicating what you're doing. Number 2, too many negative keywords. Last year, one of my most popular videos on this channel was the idea that you should try to remove all your negative keywords. Too many negative keywords result in over-blocking search terms and killing potential new converting queries. My problem isn't necessarily with adding negative keywords. The problem is you've added negative keywords and you've never reviewed them again, ever. Or you tried controlling smart bidding, you lost the oversight, so you essentially excluded the keyword entirely. And here's a really good example of this. Something happened here. Something happened here. Somebody excluded a keyword they shouldn't have here. Here I removed that negative keyword. This doesn't mean that the person running this was bad. There are 15 accounts to manage here, and this is the European account, so there's even more different countries underneath this. This person that was running this simply just tried to do what he thought was best for the account and messed up doing it. Removing all negative keywords give you a clean slate. Now this one was super obvious, but what about that one random category or product keyword that you removed 2 years ago because you weren't selling it? Bet you have one in there that you now have that product on the website, or that search term will work today with a lower bid because now you're using smart bidding, etc. I'm not saying that removing all negative keywords is the end all be all. Sometimes the effect of this is just initially you get a higher volume at a lower efficiency for the first couple of months. But then when you re-add the negatives that should still be excluded, you gain the efficiency back. Number 3 is using standardized product groupings without strategic logic, without a strategy. Basically, you're blindly applying popular structures like the zombies, labelizers, and not to hit on labelizers, I think it's a great idea and works, but it's just people just blindly putting in and creating I have zombies, all these products and product variations, don't get any clicks, let me bid higher for those 90% of the time. There's a reason why they're not supposed to be bid for. I've read the documentation for most of all these things, like labelizer, and they all say what not to do. Nobody follows actually guides of the people that make these frameworks, and then you implement them wrong. The biggest sign that your campaign structure in shopping, or PMax for that matter, doesn't work is that the CPCs, conversion rates, and or the ROAS levels are all the same. If that's the case, you're better off just joining them all in a single campaign. Number 4, running shopping campaigns on broken or suboptimal feed data. This is my most basic advice today. I still see advertisers skip it. Let me just start with an example of where this went wrong this year. I opened an account where they were splitting shopping campaigns or PMax campaigns by category. Product types were accessories, garden, outdoor, and furniture. Nobody had actually verified that accessories were actually in accessories, or furniture was in furniture, garden was in garden, etc. The reality was that all of this was split out because it came out wrong from Shopify. Some of the products had to both be in furniture and in outdoor. Some accessories were chosen to also be in garden because it worked as a garden product as well. And that means that all was random when it came to the campaigns and where they were structured, and seeing that these people had put in different ROAS targets for different categories categories, which makes perfect sense sometimes. It meant that we started pushing, or in this case, they were pushing accessories way too hard and not pushing some of their best-selling outdoor products in March and April, and that's a mistake. So make sure you go in, check my video, fix your hygiene feed attributes before you do anything else. Let's jump to more PMax specific things. So number 5 is thinking that PMax is a full funnel campaign. It's not. Please stop thinking it. It's primarily a mid to bottom of funnel campaign. This is generally accepted in 2026, and so I want to focus on the most common comeback I get when I say that, and it's like, well, PMax focus on retargeting at least. So all the effort we put into creating images and videos, etc., at least we get a lot of retargeting focus on it. Well, I open PMax campaigns for primarily external audits all the time, and they have a lot of effort put in, and I just see less than 1% of the spend, like 0.5% is being spent on anything but the search and shopping channel. So sometimes PMax can't even do retargeting well. The mistake here is the assumption that it works, the assumption that it is pulling in retargeting. If you want to do retargeting and your PMax campaign spends like 5% of your budget on display and video with a better than average ROAS, you've probably hit it. It probably does what you want it to do, but don't assume. Check. Number 6 is spending excessive effort on image and video asset optimization. I can't tell you how many times I opened this, and let me just show you. So here's the PMax campaign. Spent 100K over the last 90 days. Decent ROAS, 1,000 conversions, 21,000 clicks. The asset groups are structured based on search themes, structured based on the different collections, different drops, different products, different things. Generally not overdone. You can see there's quite a bit of conversions in some of them and across all of them more or less. So it's generally well done. This is following all the different things that you're supposed to be doing. And we go in, we click here, we click channel performance, and ooh, it looks good, but does it? 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 99.36%. If this is you, please remember to check. Don't just spend a lot of time doing image and video optimization, creating a lot of asset groups. It's just a ton of work with no impact whatsoever. Which leads us to number 7. Ignoring the shopping component of Performance Max. Most PMax campaigns spend goes to shopping placements, yet most of you will focus on creative assets and just ignore the optimization tactics that are known to improve shopping ads, even within PMax. Product segmentation, feed optimization, custom product scoring. These 3 things drive 80% of the success with shopping. But simply changing assets, creating new search themes, changing whether or not you run on search partners or not makes 0 impact on shopping ads. So if you want to have better performance from PMax, go back to what I said, product segmentation and feed optimization. Feed optimization is more or less a one-time thing. So focus on product segmentations once you have done feed optimization. Number 8 is relying solely on PMax instead of testing standard shopping or dedicated search campaigns. You're basically missing out on control, insights, and potential efficiency from standalone campaign types. This is not for everybody. This is for the people that actually know what they're doing, that want to take their game one step above, and there is a way to do this. Let me show you an example of something that went wrong just in the last couple of months of this year. So when we take a look at this, it's actually pretty neat. So okay, we spend most of the money on most of the spend on search. Great. Like shopping, search, pretty good, pretty neat. Get a good performance out of both. It's doing exactly what you want it to do. But let's try to say here, I was just looking at this the other day and I was like, I wonder how this is working. And all of a sudden, all of our search spend went away. And this, when I looked at it, it stemmed from, it came during Black Friday. So this is Black Friday. And it was still doing well, but something happened and the search campaigns or search ads seemed to get a lower ROAS during that phase. Before that, we're perfectly fine. You can see, like, I'll keep going back. We're perfectly fine, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. But ever since Black Friday, it hasn't caught up. And now we're just simply not spending any money on search. That's a problem. This is the control I'm talking about. This is a huge problem. And now we're waiting for it to actually start picking up again. And I can tell you why this happened. The advertiser lowered ROAS targets completely during Black Friday, and then they increased them a lot afterwards in order to stop the overspend. They basically did some things wrong, but they didn't see this. So when we came in and said, like, hey, this is why you're not hitting your targets right now, fixed it, moved it to standard shopping and dedicated search campaigns, immediately picked up the performance again. Now let's move to specific search mistakes. Number 9 is excessively pinning of ad assets. Overpinning your headlines restricts Google's ability to test and optimize ad combinations, often lowering RSA performance. You usually do this with your best intentions, and you think it looks good, but at scale and over time, it becomes really, really difficult to predict what headline performs best, and suddenly you forget that you've pinned them, so all the new headlines you're writing have no impact because they're basically not shown. And the problem here increases when Google then decides that you, on mobile, it only wants to show you the first headline, and you've pinned your sales message, your promotion message in headline number 2, and all of a sudden Google is only showing one headline on mobile, and you have this complex pinning system that's supposed to show the right headline at the right time and only test this versus this, but 2/3 of your ads are not shown. That's what happened. Forget about overpinning. Number 10 is not understanding that match types have evolved. Exact match isn't exact anymore and hasn't been for a long time. This isn't rocket science, but if you never review what search terms your keywords trigger, then you're in for a really, really big surprise. The problem here is that many of us know, oh, right, well, exact match isn't exact match, but you never look at broad match. So when you just add a broad match keyword and you see, hey, this is doing great, but it only matches to exact match search terms, then it's not broad match that's working, and it's exact match. The way that this looks in practice is you need to understand what you do when you run different match types and what you want out of them. Exact match, you get 80% of the same as your keyword. You expect some deviation, but little waste. Phrase match, 60% the same. You have some deviation, you have some waste, but mostly it works. The way that this works is that you have this like overall table: organic coffee beans, buy coffee beans, fair trade coffee beans. I want to put it in gray, but I didn't have a really good way to do that. Exact match can still do that because it's still the same intention, fair trade and organic, so it will still match to that. However, phrase match will 100% match to it, and broad match of course as well. How to brew coffee, espresso machine might be really good converting keywords when you show, hey, how to brew coffee, or I have an espresso machine, or stuff like the best coffee at home, and you show organic coffee beans. That might be a perfect ad to show at that time. That's what broad match can do. For some businesses, this is amazing with broad match, but for a lot of businesses, this doesn't work at all. So this is why some advertisers have a great success with broad match and others don't. Number 11 is treating broad match as inherently bad or good. People will say, I hate broad match, or they'll say it's the only way to take full advantage of the advanced signals in Google Ads, and neither are true. Broad match is a good way to expand into new search terms you haven't thought about. But the essence of broad match is horrible in my opinion. The foundation of Google Ads is a search term should match the ads should match the landing page. When you over-rely on broad match, the percentage of searches that don't match your ad is too high and your performance will drop. I've seen a lot of examples of this throughout the year, so think twice before adding or not adding broad match. Number 12, not running dynamic search ads. So this part has the highest likelihood that I'll change my recommendation. I have a core belief that AI Max will take over from DSA. DSA is a great campaign type that provides a lot of value, and AI Max isn't quite ready yet, but by all accounts, AI Max is DSA on steroids. AI Max allows AI to write headlines for the keyword. It allows customization to like the ad copy to fit AI mode. But until AI Max has proven itself, I'm still a huge believer in DSA. Number 13, adding too many headlines in responsive search ads. The problem with this is twofold. Too many assets are impossible for the algorithm to accurately test. It's also difficult to write 15 quality headlines that are all different, hitting different intents. The end result is usually that all your headlines are either overly generic or they're low quality, and that means that the whole purpose with adding 15 headlines is that it hits different people at different parts of their intent and different parts of the journey and all these things, and Google know when to mix and match and when there's the right thing. But if you just have 15 very similar headlines, it doesn't work. It actually hurts more than it helps. So adding 5 quality headlines that you continuously test and add and replace is much better than mindlessly adding 15 at once and then being overwhelmed whenever you look at it. Number 14 is not optimizing ad copy based on your conversion data. Last year, we got data on individual headlines: click-through rate, conversion rate, ROAS. You should use these to inform what headlines you write completely new, which ones you iterate to improve, and which ones you remove. This is golden. It's like we're back in the good old days where we could weigh CTR versus conversion rate on our ad copy, and based on whether or not, what did we want in the account? Do we want to scale? Do we want to be more profitable? To find the best headlines that work for us. Number 15, SKAGs are absolutely dead. I still see agencies in-house and freelancers rely on SKAGs, but it's done. So with match types being very loose, like I said before, with different search term matching, SKAG structures simply just don't work anymore. I want to just mention one thing here, and it's just because because you have a keyword in its own ad group, it doesn't turn it into a SKAG campaign or SKAG concept. You still need to keep noise canceling headphones and open ear headphones in two different ad groups to write the most relevant ad to match the search intent. What I'm referring to here is splitting up in match types, plural or singular, or keywords that can speak to the same ad into multiple different ad groups. This doesn't work. The biggest problem I see here is that people add longer tail versions of the same keyword in new ad groups. So noise canceling headphones and cheap noise canceling headphones. If you don't write a new ad for cheap, it can go in the same ad group. Noise canceling headphones for men. If you're not writing something specifically for men, don't put it in a new ad group, etc., etc. Unless you can actively create a new ad group, write a specific ad for that keyword, then there's no need to create a new ad group. The reason why SKAGs stopped working is because you split the data for responsive search ads too much when you do it, but that's another video and it's very complex, but you basically ruin the algorithm when you do it. Number 16, adding duplicate keywords. All duplicate keywords, singular, plural, different word order, are not necessary anymore. Smart bidding bids on search term levels, so adding every variation is just confusing. Only caveat here in the beginning of the year is PMax. PMax has shown that it only respects exact match, but doesn't exact match variants. So if you don't have the exact match keyword in the account, like noise canceling headphone, noise canceling headphones, if you don't have the exact match of both, then it will just take over whatever you don't have the exact match version of. So I have full faith Google will fix this in 2026, but it's one of the things that make my personal account structure with no use of plural and singular and keyword variations on word order and all these things. It makes it very difficult to work with PMax on. Number 17, ignoring search because shopping performs better. This is very different from country to country. The US is much harder to do search than Europe, for instance. But most accounts I open will ignore search completely because it's not performing out of the gate. The reason is that shopping is easy to create, and even if you don't spend a lot of time on it, then shopping usually just performs. Then the next level is you just rely on dynamic search ads. But if you do that, then you'll find that dedicated campaigns for your core keywords will outperform dynamic search ads. For a client, we saw that search drove new customers in a higher degree than shopping, so investing in search was an incremental decision and did really, really well. For others, we've seen that we can grow much more when it comes to search than to shopping. So even when it's just 20% of the overall investment, then going from 20 to 30% is still meaningful for a big business. I don't know how many other places you could get a 10% overall channel improvement and not be happy. Like, take it. It's not, and if you do it right, it doesn't take that long. Number 18 is over-relying on dynamic search ads instead of building out a proper keyword funnel. If you're skipping out on the hard work of structuring keywords from generic to high intent, optimizing the ads to match that intent, and finding optimal landing pages, then search doesn't work. Reason number one why relying on dynamic search ads is a bad idea is that there is just too much waste. Dynamic search ads with smart bidding works incredibly well, but 10 to 30% of it is just pure waste at any time. Reason number two is the ad copy. Writing better ads can improve conversions 20 to 100%. It's a huge range, but it can. When you rely just on dynamic search ads pulling in your SEO titles as the headlines, then you're showing headlines optimized for ranking, not conversions. The combination of reason 1 and 2 will lower your average ROAS of your DSA campaign and essentially put a limit of how aggressive smart bidding can bid on search. Let DSA do what DSA do best. Cover long tail keywords, matching them to specific product pages using your SEO headlines or titles, and cover keywords you've missed, but don't let it be a replacement to have a core setup for search. Number 19 is never testing landing pages, especially to something as simple as sorting and filter functions. The fewer SKUs you have, the more important it becomes to create and testing landing pages. If you have a lot of SKUs, then just testing what page you send them to. Are you sending them to a collection page versus your home page versus a product page versus a brand page? And testing different sorting functions like bestseller or newest or on sale can be really big levers to improve performance without doing much. Here's an example from Crafted where I say on the left, we have the bestseller sorting. On the right, we have the manual or featured. This is the one that they've chosen to show. And it's super interesting to see that what they're trying to push right now is a higher value product that doesn't really sell that well. Maybe it works for them. Maybe they have a high value for it. Maybe they have more customers from it. Maybe there's a reason to do this. But it's very, very interesting to see that the ones that they have chosen as the default setting is not the product that people actually end up buying. Now there can be 1,000 reasons why the page with a more expensive product to begin with actually converts better than just sending to these bestseller. Maybe the manual sorting anchors the price at 85 pounds and then people go down and say, oh, I can buy something for 40. Great, I'll buy the 40. But if they look at first 40, go like, oh, that's expensive. This is why testing works. Now let's move to bidding bidding mistakes. Number 20 is never adjusting your ROAS target. Like, there's several aspects to this, and I've made more videos about this than I care to admit, but the core I want to highlight is that decreasing your ROAS target gives smart bidding permission to explore new search terms. And the second thing is increasing your target narrows down smart bidding and to focus on known search terms that are proven performers. There's a ton of nuance to this, but that's basically the gist of it. So when you never change your ROAS target, you're missing out on opportunities to find new search terms, or you're missing out on being more profitable. Strategically lowering and increasing your target by 10 to 20% can help you increase your volume at almost the same ROAS as before. Changing the target is something that you should be comfortable with. Not knowing what happens when you adjust your ROAS target is not good. If you drop your ROAS target from 500 to 400% and you're super scared of doing that, then something is wrong. You need to know what happens. I have accounts where I know if I go under this, we're doomed. We just lose money by all accounts. But I also know that if I have to be a little bit more tight, I can go up to, let's say in this account, go up to 650. If we want to drive volume, I can go down to 525 and not drive volume. But anything below that, no, it's not a good idea. So this is the way to go. Number 21, never overriding smart bidding. As a whole, you should definitely stay the course and not try to micromanage smart bidding. But there are times of the year where the stakes are simply too high to wait for smart bidding to realize it's bidding too high or too low. We have several clients where Valentine's Day is huge. The 2 weeks leading up to Valentine's Day are 10x other days. It can be absolutely crazy. So smart bidding is a bit off in predicting what the ideal CPC should be. Then we stand to lose a lot of volume in these days. What we basically do there is we're doing the equivalent to day trading with our seasonal bid adjustments and max bid limits for our portfolios to steer it towards the daily maximum. Another obvious example that I'm showing you here on the screen is after Christmas shipping cutoff time. Smart bidding doesn't know you can't ship on time anymore, and your conversion rate will drop 50% from one day to another. The gist of all this is if you never override smart bidding, then you're probably missing out on better performance during peak times. Mistake number 22, overriding smart bidding all the time. So I've opened 5 accounts the last 2 years that had a minus 80% seasonal bid adjustment on all campaigns that they renewed once a week. Every time they try to just release the seasonal bid adjustments, the account overspent by 3 to 5x. The problem here is that the more you override smart bidding, the longer you come away from it knowing what the true baseline bidding should be. So when you've been artificially increasing or decreasing the bids too long, it simply doesn't know what to revert. So when I say you should override smart bidding sometimes, I also need to say that you need to get away from doing it as fast as you can. For me, I can live with low performance in the first 2 weeks after peak season ends for a client if it meant I got the maximum out of the peak season. Number 23, setting the wrong ROAS target. A misaligned target can tank performance because of the S-curve relevance in bidding. Then you can get 1 to 1.5, 1.8, maybe 2x more volume by lowering your target ROAS a notch and really get up on the S-curve. You don't have to make bigger changes sometimes to make a big impact. It can also mean absolutely nothing if you're already on the top of the curve and you're trying to increase there. But too many accounts, like I said before, can run into a ROAS target that was set years ago and it doesn't reflect the optimal ROAS target today. Because the target ROAS that was set 2 years ago can be different simply just because different tracking methods, different consent modeling, different enhanced conversion efficiency, then another thing is different margins. Competitive landscape can have changed or conversion rates simply just change. The last thing is your marketing mix can have changed. If you get less SEO, more SEO, then you might want to have a higher ROAS or lower ROAS on Google, email, Meta, TV. All these things, your marketing mix matters when it comes to your ROAS target. Number 24 is no use of blended ROAS. Focusing only on ad platform reported ROAS without factoring in overall business profitability always ends in setting the wrong ROAS target because you're too silo-based. I've routinely seen that a lower ROAS target can drive more volume, and I think I've said this enough by now, so I'm not gonna say that again. But ignoring your overall business number, whatever that is, whether you're looking at blended ROAS, contribution margin, or anything, or new customers, if you ignore looking at that number when you're playing around with the optimal ROAS target in Google Ads, means you end up with problems. Mistake number 25, no use of new customer acquisition KPIs. This is very niche, but if your business is dependent on driving new customers to drive growth, then ignoring your new customer KPI in Google Ads you'll just stagnate. The premise here is that you should, of course, Just like if you're tracking profit, you want to track what products and campaigns driving new customers. This will allow you to run at a lower ROAS target than your other campaigns and still hit your business numbers, actually hit better business numbers. Again, just like with profit tracking, if you had different margins for different products, then you'd also say it's silly to bid the same. The same is said for new customers. Some keywords can drive 2 to 3x more new customers. If new customers is a core KPI for you, then go for it. I have a video on how to use new customer acquisition setting correctly. Very, very, very adamant about this. Everybody does it wrong, so I have a correct way of doing it. Please watch the video for the proper implementation. Number 26 is treating POAS, like profit tracking, as binary. I see a lot of people either dismiss it completely or they'll blindly trust it's the only metric they need. Profit tracking, I am a huge fan of, and is one of the most powerful tactics you can implement. When you have different margins for different products, you have a goal to drive higher profit, not just revenue, and 3, you have stable prices, and our promotions are really, really predictive. The mistake I see is implementing POAS without actually having different margins, or implementing it when you're heavily dependent on promotions or changing prices all the time. It makes smart bidding less efficient. Or if you implement it when the rest of your organization couldn't care less about driving profit. And again, some of you will say that that's odd, like who wouldn't drive profit? But large businesses are much more used to driving better profit by optimizing COGS, improving logistics, managing salaries, and other OpEx activities. So that was 26 areas for you to improve. You're not going to fix all these overnight, and you shouldn't even try. Here's what I'd do if I were you. Go through your account and identify 3 to 5 of these to apply to right now. Pick the ones where you know you're making a mistake or you are generally unsure if you are. Then prioritize. What's going to move the needle most? Maybe it's cleaning up your feed data. Maybe it's final testing your ROAS target. Maybe it is just trying something out. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is trying new things. I keep saying my biggest advantage as a PPC specialist is that I see a lot of accounts and we tried a lot of things in Savvy. So we try to see what happens when we do different things. We know what happens when we do more things. So if you want to go any deeper of any of these, I've linked related videos in the description. And if this was helpful, of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
If you're into practical PPC insights that you can actually help you, then subscribe. I share tips, breakdowns, and call out what's working and what's not. No fluff, just the stuff that you can use every single week.